How you mean, brothers and sisters, good day now. Entertainment television with muscle tonight. I got the Shinehead and Butter and Kingston 12. People, are you ready? Blow! Oh Lord! Become the entertainment TV rock steady. Blow! Oh Lord! Sometimes it's hard, but try and you'll make it. Leave you me. May I tell you, in order to achieve, go forth and take it and set yourself free. Now with obstacles in your way, you may fall before you rise. But when muscle and Shinehead start to talk, you know say it's no surprise. And as part of your plan, you feel your ambition and the Almighty One as your ace.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is Muscle, and this is another Two Line Music Hut's Entertainment Report podcast. And today we have a special guest in the building. Listen, I could say at this point he's definitely a friend of the podcast. He's been on before and he's back on now. And listen, the last thing this man said to me is yesterday's price is not today's price. You know, we have in the building today, we have Shinehead in the building today. What's going on, big boss?
It's a Friday evening. Bim! Pleasure to be here again, once again, on entertainment television with the great muscle, you know.
You understand.
Real pleasure to be here, Jaja.
Thank you for pulling up again, because I know whenever you're in the building, your stories, your vibes, the way how you tell your stories are always so great. So I'm so happy to sit down today with you again on this Friday here.
Give thanks.
Yeah, man,
Me
definitely. Too. As I started out, I said yesterday's price is not today's price. I know, like earlier this year, last year, that went viral. How did you even come up with that there?
After a Jamrock Cruise, and then went around to Gilly Priest's studio, and then we somehow ended up around at Anthony B's studio in Miami, and Anthony B was going live, and you know, so I joined Anthony B on his program as a impromptu guest, and then, you know, rhythm after rhythm, the rhythms will bring stuff out of you didn't know was there or haven't seen in a long time, and all it took was one stalak and sinting busting on my head and pow.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Vibes, you know.
Definitely.
Nothing really. It's scientific, yeah, but that's too much to break down now. It was just all vibes that got sparked off that evening.
But that's usually the easiest way to sum up everything. It's just the vibe, the spirit, the just what the rhythm told you to say at that exact moment right there. That's what came out.
Yes, and that is dancehall.
You understand?
That is dancehall style. That is sound system style. Mm-hmm. Impromptu.
And I feel like that's where you exist the best, where it's impromptu. It seems like you don't really want to write it down. You just want to let it flow. And when it happens, it just happens.
Yeah. Some writing used to go on, but you can't script everything, is it?
Mm-hmm. 100%. You see, in this conversation, I really want to talk to you about some of the milestones in your career, because we got a lot of the origin story the first time you came on. Now we could talk about some of the milestones, because you have a couple milestones, that I want to talk about, because it's so wild that you've been in this business for as long as you have. You understand?
Yeah, give thanks.
Definitely.
These milestones, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
The first one I want to cover is actually, it's 40 years. This year makes 40 years since you came up with the Billie Jean and Mama Used to Say. How does it feel to actually know that 40 years you put out a song, and to this day, it's still a hit? Whenever you play it in a dance or something, people still feel the same energy they did in 84 as they do right now in 2024.
Suffice to say, I feel very solid. Like you almost can't move. It's one of my few signs of stability. I guess I did something right for a long time. It just feels solid and strong, man.
Mm-hmm.
and good,
Yeah.
but very solid, like on 2 foot, very solid spiritually, physically, just solid.
100%. Because again, you could have sang any songs on that rhythm there, the Chim Cherry, but you decided to sing Mama Used to Say and Billie Jean. Why those two songs in particular? Out of anything that could have come to mind.
Mama used to say Billie Jean, Lady in My Life, are kind of minor keys, like the Chim Cherry rhythm, and their melodies kind of intertwine harmoniously where they won't clash or crash into each other. That's what's up.
Proper. You know what I
Same
mean?
thing for major keys. If the melodies are pretty and bright and sunny, a few may not match because you don't want it to be over sweet and soppy, but many of them do match, and that's the ingredients of crossover without trying to cross over.
For sure. It's just matching the melodies and the frequencies and let it do its job from there.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely. Because a lot of people don't realize that. Even when you look at Billie Jean, there was just these two words that you change in the song that made it so different. Michael Jackson said she was more like a beauty queen, and you turned around, said she was more like a M16. Just that little tweak right there. What made you decide to put in that super minor tweak in there?
I don't know. Maybe Jamaican culture, which was influenced by Hollywood decades ago, is our gun culture. Let me not pretty it up. It's gun culture because that was surrounded by guns. Jamaicans with guns, white people with guns, brown people with guns, just guns everywhere. Grew up in gun culture. So that's going to cause that. And, you're there Bronx, you're there Kingston, you're there Toronto, you're there Montreal, you're there London. A one thing going to test on the rooftop. Or somebody going to get hurt due to an altercation. Unfortunately, it comes from growing up in gun culture from Jamaica. Everybody want to be Jimmy Cliff, harder they come from day one. Just gun culture muscle.
Yeah.
Me's not a gunman, but it's close enough where you can't ignore it. You gotta say, you have to make a comment or three, just like you have topics like the Ripple, the Bitcoin, the XM, the XRP. Me see something relevant, me on get one talk, yeah.
And that's how that fit in there. Because again, a lot of times you have to really listen closely to realize that those two words were the only two words that was changing the entire song there.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it was appropriate, because like me say, we live in a gun culture. Even if you're in a suburb of Long Island, somewhere, I still gun culture. Until there are no guns, we live in gun culture.
100% there. And I know that you had recorded those two songs. You actually recorded the whole album, Rough and Rugged and Harry J. But those two songs in particular, I want you to take me back to basically 40 years and tell me what was happening in the studio, who was the engineer, what you remember at that time there, because we're actually going through the 40th anniversary right now.
I remember the mystic vision, the magic, powerful vision I seen rolling up to Harry J's with African Love. In the morning, I'm upon the corner. I see these brothers. First time I roll in at RJ still. And I see these brothers, I know them already. And I'm looking at this caption where brothers are there, ready to go in the studio, then wake up early in the morning. They got suits on, yo. They got suits on. That's how the ethic was back in the day. And I'm pulling up, and I'm looking at Junior Demos, Nicodemus, Super Cat, Junior Cat, people like that, Super Blacks, Early B. And I'm pulling up, and all these stars are outside already on the corner, ready to go do some music, and dressed to the T because it's a mentality that, yeah, we gonna step up our ethic and we gonna make it. See, so it was ghostly and ghastly and a permanent reminder of what the struggle is. Because I wasn't standing on the corner. I roll up and see them. So I got an idea of the struggle. And me never dep on no corner, me roll up on the corner. And then tutus, them started, they're all over the world, they are foreign. So it was a brief reminder. The corner is just for a time. And the man them perched there, so ready for spring. And all of them did. But me spring from foreign. Where it's kind of easier one way, but still harder because you use a foreign artist and you bust from foreign. So for whatever reasons or no reasons at all, it should be harder for you because you busting from foreign.
It's
And
a different struggle. It's a different hustle. It's a different
yeah,
vibe altogether.
yeah, it was like Prince and Pauper type shit, man. It's sticking on my brain and remind me for keep up mentally, physically, morally, spiritually, financially, every alley.
When you okay, so then now remember it's you said Super Cat, all of these people you've seen out there. So when they heard you actually recording this song, because did they know of you before you went and recorded this song, or this was the first time they were hearing about you?
No, them know me already, I me know them, but them never in the studio when me a voice. Them, them out of the one at Shampoos. I was just knocking out song after song. It was pretty quiet in Harry J's.
And
If
who
I
was the
want our
engineer
tree,
for the session?
if the engineer, I forgot the name. I forgot the engineer. I honestly forgot the name of the engineer. And I think Harry J put his fingers on it once or thrice. But I forgot who the engineer was. Sorry.
Yeah. Because even if you listen closely, you could tell that there's no backing vocals and all that. It sounds like it was just one shot. You sang
Yeah,
Billie Jean and Mama used to say.
yeah, it was. It was. I couldn't believe where I was, bro. I'm in Kingston. I'm in Harry J's. I'm in the real reggae Jamaican studio in Jamaica. I couldn't believe where I was, bro. I was gassed, still gassed.
Yeah.
I'm glad I walked that road of life. It's precious. You can't get that back. And it was a precious piece of learning and a precious piece of education.
And how
Uh,
long were you down there recording all of these songs for before you came back to the States?
Maybe a few weeks, 2 weeks, and come up back. Because I knew the lyrics already. So and beating out the rhythms and the dance. So by the time it was time to get on them in the studio, it was already already familiar. Some of us going like I dance me there and get to ripping. You
Yeah.
understand?
One
Let's get to
time.
ripping. This is fun.
You
Let's get to
understand.
ripping.
100%. And even the songs now, when did you know that these songs bust? Because I know you tried them out in dance, yeah, they busted that. But when you say, holy shit, this actually is connecting with the people outside of the people in a dance? When did you know these songs were big songs?
When sound system I play them on the regular, like rotation, like you're a bodyguard, you're a silverhawk, you're a stone love at House of Leo, and you clapping the hell out of Strive and dance down the road, and I found out and Billie Jean, the sound system started reeling off and playing my joints. That's when Manure say, yeah, it reach.
Yeah, it'll work.
It reach. Cause sound afi bossy first.
100%. You know what I mean? Because you seem like you really have a real infatuation and reverence for sound system business and sound system culture.
Yeah. That dimly lit dance hall is a place of refuge. That is our church, like Josie will say. We go there to say what we want and hold a joy or hold a lamentation. The sound system is the tabernacle and the selector is the priest. After a while, he or she can be a high priest if they're devoted and adept enough. You come there to let her have to go and face the next week's Monday to Friday week. I have a reverence for it because I that's on me go and find a great deal of my piece, or at least who and what I'm looking for. Few times it can go wrong, but most times it go right. If the promoter, the selector, the sound man, them, the artist, them, everyone involves, are of one accord, and that will always work. Me love dance because at Deso, the Sufferation song them that you're not gonna hear on the radio. At Deso, you gonna hear them, and the selector that is panoramic minded enough, broad minded enough to say I go and play a tune is the man that not just busts a tune but teaches you something. So it is the selector's duty to go to musically uncharted waters. Every record you see in here, I never play every record in here. The fun is playing each one for the first time. For me, get some tune from the late King Richard around 2014. I have not played all of them yet. I'm still shopping.
Yeah.
Well, at them here, look. Carrying it down here, so. I'm still shopping in my own stuff. I'm still shopping.
Yeah.
I'm still shopping. Kude. I'm still shopping.
Yeah.
Them are full too. Sissy, I'm not lying, me I tell. See, I'm still shopping.
That's enough music. Enough
See,
music.
and then you spin around. See, our next set of turntable over there, so butterfly practice pan. See, our next set of tune there, so. See the wall there.
Yeah.
See the wall there. See,
we're getting the exclusive tour.
Yeah, man. See the doubles there. In the spirit of
Jack Ruby.
Ray symbolic, Wally symbolic, Jack Ruby. I saw me things set.
Yeah.
Unity. Vinyl is final. Yeah, man. Still shopping. So the dancehall is my refuge. The records is my refuge. Can you have some little song by a Freddie McKay or a Hugh Mondell or a Sir Roy Panton where nobody no business with, but if that is put on by a selector with confidence, with conviction, with command, and with authority, and with passion, that tune there got you because the selector believe it first. I gotta believe me before you believe me. Check?
100%.
See? So that's why the dancehall and the sound system is my refuge more time.
You understand there.
So it start and I so it all end.
100% agree. You did the covers. I know Michael Jackson was one of your biggest influences when you were first coming up. Did you ever in your entire career get a chance to actually meet Michael Jackson?
No, and it wasn't just Michael Jackson, it was the Jackson 5. Them first miss it on the album cover aside from a Temptations album cover. Them little youth, them see where favor me. And I took that and ran from there because on the album cover, them kind of stoop down. Like them a pose, but them a have fun and I take a picture. But to me, being a small child looking for, I guess, myself, it looked to me like them are moving at the album cover, boss, man. It's like they say, hey, come rock with us, come on. So it looked to me, it's my story and I'm sticking to it. So it looked to me, I'm a want to, so.
Got you. So, okay, so never met Mike. So, okay, so Michael, did you meet any of the Jacksons before that?
No.
So wild. Been moving around the industry for so long and haven't met any of the Jacksons.
No. And I admired Jermaine Jackson because him play bass. Tito play guitar. Michael sing. Jackie play congas. You know? It wasn't just 5 or 6 singers. It wasn't just a family of singers, a family of musicians. I will always dig them because yesterday I took up a Jackson's album. You think I'm playing? All right. You think I'm playing? All right. Anybody want to think I'm playing? All right, this the back of it, all right? All right, watch this now. Yeah. That's something that at all time don't play.
Yeah.
Do not
Destiny.
rap.
Yeah.
Even me find a Jamaican in New York rhythm. All right, see Destiny there. See the real vinyl there. See the destiny there again. See it. So you see I'm not lying, right? Right. And let's not talk about the big one. Pow! Aha! All right. So you see I'm not lying, right? All right.
Yeah.
All right. Most
But
stop
you
this,
you
yeah?
got to keep it close though. Keep it
Yeah,
close.
literally, bossy.
Yeah.
Literally. Seen. Okay. Okay.
Got
Okay.
you.
Oh, everybody get down on the groove. What? Come on, man.
Yeah. No, it's just listen. I just know. You see, when something influences you so much and something you love, you just want to keep it as close as possible to you at all times. You understand?
Twine up in the DNA, bossy. Oh, you mean? Closer than close.
It's part of it. You know one thing, because I know you've been around enough Rastaman, Brigadier Jerry, and a whole heap of Rastaman. Was there ever a time in your career where you wanted to Rasta, or that was never really the lane that you wanted to go?
I am attracted to and lean towards and move towards Rasta because for the most part, Rasta is not a violent people. It's a very cool and sensible people from ages and ages and ages. My dad is a Ras. I see the sense in it because whatever every or anyone would face is like them come with a deeper doctrine that keep you solid. I seen it work. I seen them get persecuted and nobody, and they still go on with their lives. So is Rasta is refuge for me, although I'm not growing on natty, because I'm not using an excuse or nothing. But God forbid I bug out and do something very unrastified, then Rasta get the blame and I got locks on. You understand? Because yeah, I reserve the option and the elbow room and the right to go there if need be. No, we no say Rasta not defend themselves and no fight. I just don't want to be the one to have that on and go buck wild and then Rasta get the blame because Shinehead is a sizable enough name. So you know. And besides, my hair don't grow too fast anyway. So if it happens, I ain't gonna stop it. But that just means I have to seriously, like follow a straight line and hold a harder more. Which honestly, I confess I might want some elbow room just in case I got a buck wild in self defense. Then
Problem
you
child.
no, it's not a problem, child. I'm very calculated.
Yeah.
And when me watch Edda Pickney get beaten for things. So I'm either not gonna do those things or I'm not gonna do those things for anyone to see. You understand? So let's keep a little ballad option. But I hold high reverence not just for sound system but Rasta first.
Of course, you
And
could
my
tell
knowledge is
because of what you
my
listen
knowledge
to.
is limited, but Rasta first.
You could definitely tell. There's another Bronx native that I want to talk to you about, KRS-One. All right? Remember, KRS-One did The Bridges Over on the Boops rhythm, but they kind of put a hip-hop swing to it. Were you and KRS-One linking from back in those days there too?
No, we didn't link from then. I wish we did, but we didn't. But KRS apparently knew of me, come to find out. Because when me and him buck up over Mad Lion Studio in Los Angeles some years ago, I asked him, how you got in the game? And him said, the man literally said, he got in the game by going around looking for the African Love and the Downbeat cassettes with Shinehead on it. See? He said
Yeah.
it's front of Mad Lion. See? So, yeah, like me ask Born Jamericans, how you got in the game? And the verbatim answer was, by listening to you.
Listen, that's wild.
Jaja, yo, I was stumped. I got dude, couldn't say nothing after that, brother. What you gonna say after that?
Yeah.
Not
Because I
nothing.
understand that, because I'm telling you, when you go back and listen to The Bridge is Over, and
Yeah.
remember, he's a Bronx native just like you are, and he's giving them the reggae hip hop style, but you did it before, so clearly there's some sort of influence coming from somewhere.
Well, it come from the sound systems that were in New York City in the tri-state at the time, because there was always reggae lounge on a Thursday night. Reggae was up close. It's gonna be in your face, just like the hip hop, just like the b-boy jams that was going on and faded out. Scene, so it's gonna be up close. And the man said he went looking for the tapes. So people do their work. So like when we just start out, okay, you're known on the block. You're nice on the block. Okay, you're nice on 4 blocks. Okay, you're nice in this hood. There's other places to go now, like Brooklyn, like Harlem, like Queens, like Staten Island, like New Rochelle, and places like that. You start expanding and you find yourself in Connecticut, DC, Maryland, Virginia. Then you start taking it to Miami and Fort Lauderdale. Then you actually are leaving the continent. So it was expansion with me, starting from the Bronx. And the reggae, when I got in it in New York City, was very up close. It was very, very up close. It was tight. It was tight like Gun Hill and White Plains Road. Everything is up close right there.
Yeah.
Gun Hill going right up, going right down. Everything tight and up close. So is the reggae culture, and so is the hip hop culture. So it was there for the choosing if you wanted it, but you couldn't ignore it. Chris chose it.
100%.
KRS chose it. I chose a lot. I chose some salsa. I chose some hip hop. I chose some rock. I chose some jazz fusion. And most of our went back home to reggae.
Definitely hear that. You brought them up to Downbeat and African Love. Give me 3 nights you remember standing up around the song, either Downbeat or African Love, that you'll never forget. This is etched in your brain for the rest of your life.
Alright then. Let me see now. In the first place, Tony Screw, February 83, Tony Screw takes me and Shelly Thunder to our first real NFL dance. See, I don't know who these sounds are. I ain't never seen them before, but it was big. It was a whole new world. Trust and believe. Going to go see our Sonia, Papa Monk and our Sonia, African Love, over in a basketball gym in East Orange, New Jersey. And this was big things. And I remember African Love was honestly getting clobbered with Mook. I mean, Mook only had Mikey Jarrett, Louis Rankin, Bobby Culture, Clydefield Marshall, Rankin Joe. Did I leave anybody out? Did I say Louis Rankin? Okay.
Yeah, man.
And Claude and Mikey on African Love, just, standing over there, taking the dignified beating, looking like 2 copies of Gregory Isaacs, just how old them are.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, this don't look right. Everybody over there, so ain't nobody over here. I said, don't let that bother them. Tools I rhythm drop, man. Screw say it bite me. Tony Screw, Downbeat say it bite me. Say, I want to bite you. You want to touch it? And hell yeah, it bit me wicked. What? Still stung today. I want to go up this song. The dance changed because it was kind of quiet. The sounds of the ceilings too high. The sounds was kind of feeding backish. But Monk was just pounding on African Love till that chimcheri dropped, and then things changed, and that was the first noise I heard in the dance when that happened. It was a momentous movie life moment for me. Another moment was when Tony Screw took me to Sister Carol's birthday party in Queens. And that was the first time, I get to show out the lyrics, because over with more African Love, I just did a whistle and a one sing, and maybe that was it. But over at Sister Carol, I ripped, because I had jip notes. Up in Yasso. I look a 1x2 or a 2 by 3 too big. So young eyes, I could see in the dark. What me no remember, me I read off I so neatly and discreetly.
Yeah.
See, I mean I tell you some muscle that night, then me rip.
Yeah.
See, another night I remember is when More African Love and Downbeat are play.
Okay.
Tony's crew can't get in the dance, but I got the dubs in my hand that just come from Jamaica and managed to fire a few, and it worked. So I selected in Clash of the Titans in 1984, which consisted of Downbeat, African Love, and Papa Mo. That is the second moment. I remember a third moment with African Love in Empire Roller Rink on Empire Boulevard, stage show. Daddy URoy, I think Burning Spear, Yellow Man, Marcia Griffiths, heavy. And African Love was the sound system for intermission. Here we go with that Billie Jean rhythm again. And the forward bridge and the forward so big, my tongue fool, don't know what to do with myself. You hear me told you?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, those are at least three moments I remember. I could tell you a fourth where Volcano and Downbeat string up in a Manhattan one Christmas.
I
Man,
want to hear that.
yo, brethren, that was like a Mike Tyson Buster Douglas fight. You heard?
Yeah.
Because knockdown, drag out. Wicked. It is wicked. Them set a bad man over there, sir. Them set a bad man over there, sir. And you better play some good music to calm the savage beast. You hear me? Oh, yeah.
100%.
Momentous stuff, memories like that.
Even back then, did you meet Tenor Saw back then also?
Yeah, there's a picture of Tenor Saw and myself. I think I have a picture of Tenor Saw and myself. And yeah, we met, we did works.
What was Tenor Saw like as a person?
Tenor never loud this, Tenor never loud this, nor loud up. Tenor quiet. Kind of almost like introverted, like. He was a just cool type of guy. He's quiet. He's quiet.
Because you could definitely see that, like a link with you and Tenor Saw would be especially to hear you guys either on the same song, it would be a crazy night.
Man, oh man, yeah, yeah, that would have been great. The irony is, after I did something where I said, it must be late in my life where I slurred and said, na 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 na. See, and Tenor Saw flipped that and said, na 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 na. Who's gonna help me praise Jehovah? That's after I did, them Billie Jean joints. So, same thing there,
But
that's the joy to me.
Listen, do you see your influences? Again, you didn't know about KRS-One and Mad Lion and Born Jamericans till after the fact, Tenor Saw till after the fact. But could you really see your influence in the music and the stuff that you've done? It doesn't matter how big or how small, that it influenced other artists to make big moves in their career also?
Honestly, Muscle, I confess to see it and I want to see it. Partially as a humility check by my own self. So I don't get souped up and carried away, but most time I see it and don't see it. As of late, I'm acknowledging it, I'm embracing it, keep a level head, and as an older person now, yeah, me see which part me have an influence, and not just that, the influenced walk up to me and tell me to my face. You copy?
100%.
So it not get no clearer than that when they walking up to you, telling you to your face, you and them a reason for phone, and the man them and the woman them a tell you straight. They're telling you straight, like lifetime, just me in them brain and some other people in them brain, are just them people them walk with. in a for them world, in a for them mind. And they tell me some bad artists too.
So who was the most shocking out of the bad artists them that tell you, say, yo, you somehow either influence a song, your style, or something, where they came and said, yo, it was you know, boss?
Notch X of Born Jamericans, Edley Shine of Born Jamericans, KRS-One, that A&R that used to be at Uptown named Tim Dog, not the rapper Tim Dog, but the A&R Tim Dog. That particular Tim Dog used to be Timmy Culture with me pan African Love, and him used to be Timmy Culture pan Downbeat. There was for a while everybody was using Guess Who's Back? Guess Who's Back? TLC, Slick Rick. I think Eminem brush it where they found one or three a theme song them. So there's the influence right there. And nobody probably don't even remember who Shinehead is. But guess who's back? One day I mimic myself and they pan. Guess who's back? And I'm like, oh man, I'm sampling myself. This is funny. This is like you're chasing your tail, you caught your tail, and you're just going around circles with your tail. And then after a little while, it never seems so funny to me. It get weird. It get weird. It get Twilight Zone-ish how we am allow it. Because I'm like, guess who's back? Okay, everybody samples that. Oh, wow, that's me. I'm sampling me. And then after a while, I don't know, some psycho business boss. It never funny no more. I'm allow it.
Yo, your way of explaining things is so wild. It's so funny, boss. Trust
Yeah,
me,
man.
yo.
Kooky, Beetlejuice, the Lee Scratch Perry way. That is the man. You hear me?
Yeah.
That is the man. That is the man.
But remember, the Chim Cherry, which was the original rhythm named Phase One, it was him that the rhythm was actually built for, for either Bob Marley or he had something to do with that rhythm there.
Yeah, they just never got around to it yet. Seen, and it leak out via Jabul, Danny Dread, and Jawise, and end up on sound. But I think they just didn't get around to it yet. It make on put on. But they never reached down on there yet, but down on the reach road.
Crazy. Another time, I know this was another big part in your career too, when you were doing a lot of the Sunsplash stuff. What was it like doing those tours now with Sunsplash? Because this is going to lead you to Japan. Because we're going to talk about Japan just now, but I want to know about Sunsplash days.
Sunsplash. That is a super tour. Sunsplash is a super tour, is all that was. The superest of tours. And we're not talking no 2 weeks ago to the road. We talking 2 months. 2 months drive up and down America, Canada, and Mexico. Super tour. After 2 weeks, artists are blow hard, taking 3 breaths. And don't even talk about if we got Colorado. Boy. Sometime me have to sink clutch and come up back again too. To catch a note because the air is thin in Colorado. But Reggae Sunsplash tour is the biggest tour I've ever been on. And they usually last 2 months is what they last, with 4 tour buses and maybe 2 trailer trucks of production equipment. That's what Synergy, Tony Johnson, Ed Bartley, Sonia Johnson, Michael Campbell, Denny Nate Campbell, those people, that's what they threw down. And then after the 2 months done, America, Canada, and Mexico, then know we got Japan or we got Australia. Yeah.
Because I think, if I remember good, I swear somebody told me with Sunsplash, the tours were so big that it was actually happening. 2 tours were happening simultaneously. Like, I think like one was happening East Coast, the other one was happening West Coast, and then you guys would meet somewhere in the middle sometimes with the shows.
I don't know about that one. I just know that's why it was 2 months, because the whole tour moved as one across the U.S., across Canada, and across Mexico. I don't recall a Sunsplash tour here and Sunsplash tour here. meeting somewhere. I don't recall that. I recall one big behemoth of 4 tour buses and at least 2 trailer trucks of production roaming around for 2 months
And who was
with
on these
Aswad,
tours?
Steel Pulse,
Yes.
Marcia Griffith, Shelly Thunder, Shinehead, Tiger, Nada Ranks, Nadine Sutherland, Barris Hammond. Did I say Burning Spear? Did I say Marcia Griffiths already?
Yep.
Aswad? Yes. All Maxi Priest, Andrew Tosh, Pierre, top name.
That's wild to even think of a tour like that where you have so many big artists on one show at one time. That's wild, boss.
All right. So from Sunsplash till this moment, the biggest, the most glamorous, the most gangster, and the most sexiest I've seen it since Reggae Sunsplash is Welcome to Jamrock Cruise.
Have everybody in one place, a super pack of artists in one place to do
Yeah.
one job.
Yeah. Yeah. From then till now, there's been a gap. Reggae Sunsplash, woo! Jamrock Cruise. Back on that level right there.
Yeah. Because, okay, with Sunsplash, that was the first time you went to Japan was when you were with Reggae Sunsplash?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
was
And
it like now, your
19.
first time in Japan?
Refreshing, a brand new piece of learnings, a brand new environment, and a whole new world for me to go learn up. And this was 1989. 1989 was the first time I went to Japan. It was amazing, bro. It was mind blowing. And I'm just getting back from Japan.
That's why I brought it up, because I know you went on a... Okay, so then there was the tour that you just did, which was a 7-city tour,
Yeah,
10
7.
nights. And
Yeah.
then before that, I think a couple years before that, the 2017, you were out there with Mighty Crow also. You did a tour also.
Yeah, and before that it was with King Jam, Pikal, Anthony Gatlin.
How was this last tour that you were here in the 80s, 90s dancehall
It
tour?
was wonderful. The Japanese crowd got older, but they have not changed. Japanese supporters and fans remember who you are, but they will also remind you who you are.
What do you mean?
They will remind you who you are. Their enthusiasm are quiet people, but their enthusiasm is up there. Them in or something. See? Even if they say, okay, reggae is dead here, reggae is dead there. Reggae never dead for them when me dead though. I ain't seen no dead reggae. They
Yeah.
came out, them ram it up, and they participated.
Right
They
there.
were very festive. One city, I make a mistake about 3-4 times straight.
What do you
Now, I
mean?
don't know if me there Yokohama and I call it every wrong name. Every other Japanese city's name, and
Yeah.
I don't know say, me just dead, me still a dead, and me still a kill myself. A Ricky Trooper step in and save me, alright? Oh, Shinehead, this is not Tokyo. This is, must it, I don't know, Yokohama Butterfly? Shinehead, this is not Tokyo, this is not Nagoya, this is Yokohama. So now, me been a say, I'm a Jamaican in Tokyo. I notice like the forward a strain. So Ricky Trooper come out and say, Shinehead, this is not Tokyo, this is Yokohama. So now, me make the bullet change directions in mid-ear and say, don't drink coffee, I drink rose wine, blah, 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 blah. I know earlier I made some kind of error, but I'm a Jamaican in a Yokohama. Boom! Bam! Chopper check, proper check. Me just saved my life. Ricky Trooper just saved my life, yes. Yes. Brother, let me tell you something. It was fun. It was. They make you wanna work. You can't cheat on that. You don't want to cheat on that, brethren. Just blah and beast out upon them, cause that them want, that them pay for, and that them know me for. So yeah, totally
Big Japan.
exciting, brethren. Me can't describe it enough, brother.
Yeah, because you went out there to play the song Kingston 12 Hi-Fi and also perform as an artist.
Perform as an artist first, and then be Kingston 12 Hi-Fi, which also went well.
Proper.
You know,
Because I know you opened for one of the clashes that Trooper was doing out there too.
Say that again.
You had opened up for one of the sound clashes Trooper was doing, so I guess you were like the warm-up song for the sound clash that Trooper was
myself, in. Yeah, me, Butterfly, as Kingston 12, and a few other sounds like a Barrier Free and a Burn Down, you know, which the Japanese sound them play properly for the most part, and to all them juggle the music like how the real man them used to juggle the music when the music just came out then. Talking about the 80s, 90s. When them catch 80s, 90s digital, it a juggle out proper. Very few holds. Hold on, let me give you a new talk muscle. Yeah, the Japanese selectors, they're very concise, very orderly. They play the 80s, 90s like it's supposed to be played like the original Jamaican guys played. Yeah, orderly, everything. Boom forward. Now, you may not understand Japanese, and that's fine. But when they put in their Japanese speech at the right time of the song, there's a connection there, and there's a forward. You've got a wheel. You've got a wheel up. You got a wheel up. Okay, yeah. You've got to pull that one up. Yeah, guy.
Bro.
A Friday. What you expect? I'm feeding here.
Where do you listen? I don't know where these voices come from, and you just know how to do it so perfect.
It is somebody brand new every time. When you get in a cipher with somebody, brother, this is a cipher.
Yeah,
we ain't rhyming, but this is a cipher. We're holding our reasoning, and
100%.
it don't have to be music for something to be brought out of I and I. Trying to tell you, it's Friday, it's bug out time. I stay 17 muscle.
100%.
At 62, listen. I stay 17.
Okay, listen.
Sometimes we flip the 62 to 26. You know?
That's like sometimes. Listen, I know Japanese love dub playing. What was the dub sessions like out there, if you did any dub sessions when you're in Japan?
The dub session, first of all, make a roll back to Anthony Gatlin, DJ Pickle of King Jam. That dub session there, monstrous. Then now we move forward to when Mighty Crown carry over there. Monstrous dub sessions. Then now we move forward to Yardbeat with Disem. No change boss. Monstrous dub sessions. Me have dub for the now was sent to me from Disem from Yardbeat. Me have dub for the now. Me left Japan and Japan dub still a follow me come over and me late for do some dub. Yanong some dub supposed to do during the week. So all who said dub plate business and want to talk against dub plate business, if the people want them dubs, I guess you got to give it to them. It is a nice little economy. I personally try to make my dubs as poignant as possible for them to be worth the money that I'm asking for. So wording and poignancy is key. Dubs will never die. Now, mind you, some dubs are misused, unfortunately. And I hear my song name all night, boss. Because to me, that is a psychological crutch and a clear sign of insecurity.
Explain.
See, a regular tune can lick hot. A regular tune can lick hot if you have knowledge of music.
For sure.
See? But the dub scene over there, them serious. Matter of fact, dub scene so serious, it's not just the Japanese. Dubs come from where? Europe, New York, Atlanta, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, right here in LA, right here in Long Beach. People, them want them dub. There's no stopping. There's no stopping they dubs.
Yeah.
Just I hope all the other artists like keep up a work ethic, where these dubs are worth buying along with your regular songs. Because if it wasn't for the regular songs, wouldn't nobody have no idea about no dub. So first we need to make good regular songs so that they could support or promulgate, bring forth maybe dubs in the future. Dubs are not the end all, but they're a nice perk. Just like having a special, which only entertainment TV movements can play. So if me want to hear that certain tune, me have to go tune into entertainment TV sound system with selector called Muscle for hear them set a tune that can go.
Yeah.
Him have them.
You know that. You know what I mean?
And certain dub and go him have them.
Because I know
So
when it comes to dubs, you really put your heart and soul inside of a dub plate or listen. This is where you get to really exercise the characters, the vibes, and everything that's in your mind. Now you can bring it to life on these dubs here.
dubs are an evolution from when the singers and the sing-jays and the DJs and the rappers was practicing hard in the basement, in the dojo like this, where a set a man and some woman come in and a practicing time and a time for just beast out. That don't happen anymore from a long time. So, and plus, I guess they got tired of, you have to hire artists every time the sound play. So them just get that for replace the artist. But it is the artist's duty to go and keep up their craft on his or her own. In case you get called for duty, you are ready. You cannot just do the dub plate and then keep quiet and don't sing till it's a dub plate. You don't even exercise. You have to exercise and stay fit and ready for the call of duty. Now, me stay fit and ready and me get one appearance a year, which is Jamrock. My phone no ring for no show and no tour for the past 2 decades.
What?
See? Yeah.
What you mean?
Until about 2014, it's 3 phone calls. One from JFX, one from the late great One, and one from Dan Dalton, who is the manager of Damian Marley, from 2014. So far, we not boast about Jamrock. We not talk down Jamrock. We not talk up and say, yeah man. No, we just leave it alone and make it happen, boss. So
Let it do its thing.
I'm here the once a year. So then big show that we are say at Brooklyn, and I'm being asked, then Shines, oh you know they on them show there? Over Barclays Center, oh you know they on them show there? Fort Lauderdale. Man, I just say it go.
It's just wondering because now that you brought it up, that's right. Because you see, like they have the big show at Barclays with like Capleton, Cat, Barrington, Levy, and all of them. That you would fit right in. The one that they had in Florida the other day, you'd fit right in.
And during COVID, no verses. No verses.
What?
No hip hop what? No hip hop 50. No verses.
Okay, so then let's look at it.
The amount of dub them when me do.
So why do you think you're not
hear
getting
me?
those
You not hear
calls?
me? Let me interrupt you. The amount of dub them when me do. When me not get no show and no tour. A tour money. A tour money that.
Okay, so why do you think, realistically, why do you think you don't get those calls and your contribution in the business has been so massive? And beyond that, you sound the exact same you did in '84 as you do right now. Why do you think those calls aren't coming in?
Thank you very much. I must interject and interrupt right there because what you have just said is something that was planned and executed. Me's not no great athlete, but you have to stay in some kind of shape. And from down in the 84, a few years before that, there was a 12-mile run in Van Cortlandt Park with me and 2 cousins. And then after we graduate from high school, we still keep up the weightlifting and like a tracking and some football, just for keep up. I slacked off after a while, but was still reasonably toned. Plus, me have a high metabolism, so me not keep fat, me I burn that. But I'm glad you said that because it's something that I deliberately set out to do. I want to keep this from now till 40 years later. And then 44 years later, I'm noticing my contemporaries don't sound the same. It hurts my heart. Mm-hmm. It hurts my heart. And it reminds me that I'm vulnerable and I need to keep in some kind of shape or else I'm going to end up like that too. So this is why I don't give discounts, because I ain't lift them weights and do them push-ups and stay in shape and stay drug-free and stay sex tape-free and stay alimony-free and child support-free. I ain't do all of this. I ain't avoid all of that and stay trouble-free for nothing. You heard?
100%.
And stay out of jail for nothing and stay drug-free for nothing. You heard?
So why do you, if you were to guess, why do you think the calls aren't coming in then? For
people
those big
see you
shows?
and don't see you. People will see you and don't see you. It's as simple as that. Mm-hmm. See, no, when a man asks me, Shines, where your price? I'm going to give him a grab and flee figure. When me say stuff like, it's contingent upon capacity of venue and price of admission. No, me sound too show off. And me I use some vernacular where I know regular sitting out there. My mother said to me, Carl, you must not make people feel like, but I say, Mommy, are you pay for the tuition and the education where you want me to?
Yeah.
See, there's the other part where I'm not a big, bulky, hulky fellow, and whilst my conduct, nuances, and behavior are harmless, people want to say that I am on drugs. I should not be promoting that, but that's what they want to say. Because I don't really do no interview where it's just a very, like a 1G vernacular or grammatical capacity I want have. And I want just talk like this because it's the norm for a reggae artist. It's not gonna go like that. We Beetlejuice and we've been educated in every blood clot fucking part of the world. So you gonna hear the diversity and that is that. So if me weird, me weird. See, no, I don't gotta prove I'm not on no drugs. But if they want to find out that badly, let's have a nice friendly wager and you pay for that. Because all who say these things behind my back, the irony is I'm going to outlive everyone because what I'm enduring now is It Kill Merciless, is It Kill Gollibop, is It Kill Cynthia Schlass, is It Kill Daddy Blue. When the industry ignores you, they die of heartbreak. It's not cancer. It starts here neurologically. You get depressed and then it finds itself and transforms itself into bodily ailments. Me, I face that right now, but none of that stuff is not going to get me because me have damn ya to balance me sanity psychologically. So even if I don't get no call and only play them tune for myself and sing to myself, I'm going to stay alive and healthy because that is the first priority. Not being famous and getting money for it, but staying healthy for as long as possible and living a long, happy, fortuitous, clean one.
All right. And don't get it twisted too. Remember, you were always the outsider that was doing dancehall music that was good at it, exceptionally good at it. You could have rapped and you could sing. So it's not like you would be the first choice for a lot of people at that time because you're the outsider. That's exceptionally good.
Yeah, man, the underdog that stay on the outskirts with the outbursts. And I've often been asked, then Shines, reach further and reach further. Mm-hmm. Now y'all know why I don't reach further. No. See the tape them there. Me avoid that circle from the mid-90s because when reggae artists and I make money and I lose their mind, rap cats is making more money and losing their mind more and more severely. So if you get a deal, you have to go into that circle there and you see where them do. You see what them do for catch you. And then when you wake up in the morning, you don't know what happened. Nobody not their own, so you keep it to yourself. But a man bring a contract and say sign this. And if you not sign this, a tape I go play. Me leave them alone from early to mid-90s. Cause like me say, reggae artists start make money losing their mind. Rappers make more and lose their mind more. So me say, and just moonwalk and allow that and stay upon the outskirts. Healthy, without a criminal record, no physical ailments, and no scandals of any kind.
That's great, boss. I rate that 100%. But you brought it up there. Jamrock. This is the one where 2014 till right now, you're back 2024. I've seen a video one time where it was like you were playing Kingston 12 Hi-Fi, and it was you, Damian Gang, Damian Marley, and Stephen Marley. You guys were in this small room. It looks like, I don't even think there was 100 people inside of this room. But you guys were giving them some original wrong song, DJ mixed on. What was that vibe like when you guys were doing those type of things on Jamrock Cruise?
That is the purity, and those ciphers pop up like a spool of a little tornado where you can't control, and they just pop up. That would more likely take place way at the back of the ship in a little lounge where we're holding our vibes, or after the stage is cleared in the amphitheater, then it's dancehall time, and this purity comes out because they've heard it, they've seen us do it when we were younger and they were even younger than us. So now they want to join in and have the opportunity to do it now, because on one of the Jamrock cruises, a set went down with Admiral Billie, Pinchers, myself, artists in that age range. And then after that, it was Damian, maybe a Sham, Sasko, Christopher Ellis, Junior League, you see it? See, and then me I walk away, but me turn back, come and see this and be like, man, this shit is cute as a motherfucker, boy. Me say the endearment and turn back, and I go and pre them. Those pure moments of dancehall style. You see like Rubber Up Thursdays going on now down in Jamaica?
Yeah, man.
That's not original. That's a recycle.
For sure.
Because the first run of that was Gemini Land in the 70s and 80s on a Wednesday night.
On a Wednesday, come on, boss.
Right. Everybody and their mama was there. Lady Ann, Yellow Man, Johnny Ringo, Archie, Tony Virgo, Lone Ranger, Inscom, Shelly Thunder, Shinehead, foreign artists, Fly Down, Sister Cara. Everybody was there. Shabba, Major Mackerel, Major Worries, you name it. See, so that go on already. I'm glad I'm glad them reboot it again. Those precious ciphers right there. So whether it's Robert Up Thursday or it's on a Jamrock Cruise, when them something that happen, it's a purity. It's a straight purity. And when you see youths like Damian, Sasko, Shaman, them want to get into that, that's a purity and that's a love. See? And then when you join in with them and the whole always start rip, you build unforgettable, precious, can't buy memories.
What would you say are two more other memories that you never forget on Jamrock Cruise? Because I seen you and Cindy Breakspear, you guys were singing. I seen all type of stuff, but in your mind, what are two more memories on Jamrock Cruise that you'll never forget?
Well, stuff like you got to play on main stage, and the wind is blowing everywhere, and you're playing vinyl. So we got to put up vinyl record sleeves to surround the turntable so the wind don't blow off. And production crew is looking at us like we're gonna bomb, and we tables with record sleeves so nothing blows off. I remember one night there was a takeover in a lounge, like myself, we don't got a back end of the ship, a takeover with Buys One, I think DJ Shortcut, MC Supernatural, and myself. An impromptu takeover scene, and we just beasted out. We played reggae, we played dancehall, jump up. Then there was the remixes, and then like me and Supernat just went in, and I forgot who joined us, but when you set it off like that, it doesn't get any better. There was memorable moments like that. One memorable moment, the greatest memorable moment, I'm playing bass on main stage, you know, get my little fade away on, and then I get help. Where is this vocal coming from? And it couldn't be from nobody else but a super artist. Because Shinehead had a big bad thing. And then him the on bass. And fade away I sing, who the hell is that? Oh, Raga Benz, Red Square. Come on, man. It don't get no flyer than that, Black. Bad artists get back up and harmonize and support by next bad artists who look up to bad artists. See the movement them also. Spragados pull up neat and easy and EU67 and it done it. I ain't even know. I ain't even realize till a few seconds later. So me just act like me know. That was the slickest. That was the slickest piece of elbow. See, Spragados jukes and just right up there on the flank. And I go and drop to Junior Biles vocal. Black, that shit was so, that's superhero business, brethren. Come on, man. Sure. Who does that? Come on, man. I got Spraga doing that with me. Who can talk to me now? Come on, man. I have a right for both. Sit down. Okay.
I got you 100%. And you're looking forward to this year's Jamrock Cruise again, 2024 edition.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But first, come Monday or Tuesday, there's going to be a drive out to New York. Because we always go back to the Bronx to see Mom Dukes. And it just so happened accidentally on purpose, there is going to be an event on November 29th in Amazura. So I guess I might buck my toe and trip and fall down and stumble on that event. After which, I will take it 95 south down the turnpike and slowly meander my way to Miami to get there for the 7th, because the 8th is the Jamrock pre-party. And then after that, and the cruise is over on the 14th, there is a dance to do with a Rasta community in Palm Bay with Father Ras Mike and some ex-Bronx people and ting on the 15th. And then after that, we drive back to Cali. And on the 29th, we have our big dance in the rebooted Starlight Ballroom. Rebooted by Kitty, because that Starlight used to be originally in Brooklyn. So Kitty rebooted Starlight in LA. And on the 29th, Kingston 12 Hi-Fi strings up with Fergo Digital. We're not talking about Bungla Man pan one sound. We are talking Fergo string up in a Starlight Ballroom and Kingston 12 con string up in a Starlight Ballroom. The real rubber dub way.
Two song.
Celebrating DJ Papalo's 30th DJ anniversary. The real Team Muscle gonna go down December 29th when we're forward back. Cali.
Listen, so there's movements happening in Shinehead's world, even if we don't see them on the biggest stage. There's stuff happening inside of your atmosphere, inside of your zone.
I didn't catch that.
There's things happening inside of your zone, even if it's not always on the big stage where everybody's seeing. There's still movements and work happening in Shinehead's atmosphere.
Yes, there is. It's small and the moves are slow, but once they are made, they cannot be retracted because they were carefully concocted in the first place. So they're not supposed to move. They're just supposed to be forward, ever, backward, never. You know, some little things are going on that are gonna mushroom eventually. because we have a few dates even after that with other sound systems where we actually get to string up and duke it out.
Yeah.
Should be quite academic. Look forward to it.
Very, very interesting. Very interesting. As I said, I wanted to talk to you about some of your accolades because I know this year, 2024, makes it the 30th anniversary of your last major studio album that came out was Trodding.
Yeah.
All right. And I know you and Bobby Digital worked on the album there. What was it like working with Bobby Digital on an album like Trodding?
It was a great learning experience, not just Bobby Digital, but Steely and Clevie. There was a lot of learnings. There was a lot of jokes, and it was pretty easy. Like, neatly, me never want a session for done because what they're making, I want, I like, I love, I need. We don't have my little set of literature to put on that already. And to me, it was so much fun. Like, the session I got done too quick. Some more time we just flap a line just to do it over again because the session I got done too quick.
Yeah.
and to brush on an earlier point where you said me still sound the same. You want to know why? See it, yeah. We don't leave it. Original, rough, and rugged. We've been sitting on chrome since 1980, like literally. You see how high the bicycle seat is?
Yeah, man. So you have to stretch your legs.
That's because Kitty could tell you, Kitty and Ricky Trooper can tell you about a star that used to live in Spanish Town when we were little. Name was Monkey Man. Monkey Man was NBA height in the 70s, 73, 76, right? Like this, a Monkey Man ride a chrome fifth wheel and the seat is high. Legend has it that police take him front wheel when he was going around Spanish Town roundabout. A Monkey Man wheelie around that and go down Spanish Town Road. Police have to give him back him front wheel. That's our childhood, one of our childhood heroes. You dig? Yeah, man. So that's one of the reasons I stay with that since 1980 when I first got it. We used to admire a kid in Horizon Park, Spanish Town, back in the day by the name of Anthony Cole. His father was a correction officer. So, cause him was a star boy, and the man they a rider, the man they a runner, the man a star footballer, the man they a cricketer. So it's not just the Jackson 5, it's certain star in my personal life. Oh, me, see a star, which includes my dads and my uncles. Because my uncle forced me to build sound, and my uncle forced me to with sound. Soul King Disco. When the bass chip in, the lights come on. Red, green, and gold. Come on, man. 71. I saw that.
Yeah.
See? So learnings along the way, they are all tantamount and them add up to an amount.
Overs. There's a name you brought up earlier, Shabba Ranks. I know you guys DJ'd on Downbeat enough. You guys did enough song you guys wrote and all that. How come you guys never did a song together?
I don't know, I know Muscle. But I can tell you a strange thing that happened between two young boys one night up in that Stony Hill, up in that Cherry Garden, Stony Hillish area up there. Two young boys buck up one night because there was a dance. Now, African Love at the time, my manager, Rasclad African Love, he had two grounds people that, kept the house and the grounds and the landscape proper. And it was Tony and Jimmy. Jimmy and one hand Tony. See, and them carry me go out dance up the hill behind the house them. And there was a sound playing up there. And after a while, two little boy goes up for the mic. Seeing one of the youth look like him come from foreign. Him have on a red corduroy and a red and white sweater. Yeah, Charlie Brown. The other youth now, him have on a red mesh marina and I hit that. and the two youth sets up for the one mic. And the foreign youth let go and give and allow the next youth. Now, the next DJ did name the pilot, co-pilot. Seen? And I know the voice of the co-pilot because, let me get a charger before that phone you did. The voice of the co-pilot is similar to Major Worries, but more accurately, the voice of Shabba.
Mm-hmm.
You hear me?
Yes, man.
Yeah. Yeah. This little black youth, bucka black youth in a red mesh marina, and him hold the mic, and me listening, me get the mic after a while, me get my turn. Mm-hmm. But that voice I heard in that night, I never forget. Seen? And that was the voice of the DJ named Co-Pilot. But that voice of that co-pilot stay with me. And I hear that same voice of the co-pilot, but the name of that voice changed from co-pilot to Shabba Ranks.
Shabba Ranks, yes.
You hear me tell you?
Mm-hmm.
You hear me tell you as me play my Billie Jean in the background? Mystic muscle.
Yeah.
Mystic. Me and him box up. And I didn't come to Jamaica to fight for Mike. I came to participate, and, wait your turn with manners. And I buck up the co-pilot. And after a short while, I hear the same voice. But the voice don't name co-pilot, it name Shabba. If you want to hear a real story. See? That one that's serious to me. That one is serious to me, because I remember that crossroads the other night there. And when me bring it to Shabba said, blood clot. Yo, remember, Remember. Yeah. Yeah, I ain't lying, bro.
Mm-hmm. From co-pilot to Shabba. You understand?
That's powerful to me, Black. Because I met him before he transformed. That is superhero shit. That is mystic. That is the mysticism. The kooky Beetlejuice behind the thing. See?
That's pretty wild. And the fact that you even remember that this voice belonged to a co-pilot, then this is Shabba. I met you these many years ago. I met you. I know it's you.
Yo, when me bring it to the man say, yeah, man, remember the night. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so magical little stepping stone for me. Me meet who me for meet? When me young too. Because we gonna walk this road and we got a long way to go. So, like, being in the right place at the right time, sometime meeting the right people is key. If it could happen 100%. Like that for everyone in a perfect world. I got some pretty good connects at the right time with the right people. Not all of them, but me I work with when me get, and it was pretty good, Muscle, me I tell you. Mm-hmm. The positioning, the early positioning, Bridget.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And there was but for some reason, you guys saying, let's do a song together, that just never happened to this day yet.
Nah.
The word is yet.
Yet. Mm-hmm. Right, because back then, before Specialist came on board on the scene, it was Deli Dread. Then it's Deli Dread and Specialist. So me know them from back then. From them time. Yeah. But like you said, yet. So who knows? At this stage and at this age, why not, man? Sure. I'm down to do some good things and hurry up and do some good things before I die.
Yeah, got you. And even talking about Shabba, Grammy, have you ever been nominated for a Grammy before?
No.
You've Shinehead, hold on 1 second here. You've never been nominated for a Grammy, boss?
Nah, no.
Why?
Probably didn't sell enough.
Why? Nah, boss.
Maybe didn't sell
You have
enough.
to remember.
It's
With
numbers,
these
man.
massive songs under your belt,
I'm
bro.
not gonna beat around it. Numbers, bro. Didn't sell enough.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know, management or label who wasn't pushing in that direction. But it also, I'm gonna take my blame because I don't know what they were thinking. But I'm gonna take my blame and say I didn't sell enough. So if anyone comes forth and wants to add to that, that's fine. But me nah go put the blame upon nobody else. Me just never say. Until I'm corrected, me can say, speak for myself and say, more than likely never sell enough to be Grammy worthy.
That's wild to even think somebody like you, not even like say win, but nominated, bro.
Nah,
Nominated, boss.
no.
That's wild. That's wild. You know what I mean? Because that was something that came to my mind this morning. I said, I don't remember you and the Grammys, but is that part of your ambition to want a Grammy? Is that something that you want?
If that came along, I would have to deal with that. But it wasn't something I was ever after. I
Fair
do
enough.
good work.
Got you.
I aspire to do good work, but it's not like I gotta have that. No, I never put it as a goal. Never put it as a must have.
For sure.
What's like
There was
on a daily basis for the longest now, we get to understand how it works behind the scenes. So, we good without the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. Okay, so again, you'll stick to the story of you've never sold enough records, and that explains everything right there.
Now, let's see if I don't know if those people are too old to step forward now and say anything or even care. So, me also put it upon me. We probably never sell enough that.
All right, I hear you. I hear you loud and clear.
And when you're bringing hip hop and reggae and everything else on one album, where do you put that? How do you market that? That ain't it too.
But that led me back to even what I was gonna ask you now. With you mix a lot of the hip hop, reggae, singing and DJing and everything, but you did a lot of covers early in your career too. Knowing what you know now about publishing, royalties, and all of this stuff, would you have recorded so many covers at the first place?
Probably because those are songs I grew up with, so I gotta get that off and get to the original material. Do we have I had original material? Yeah.
Of course,
But
Strive and all those songs are original.
Right. Strive is original. Dance Down the Road is original. Actually a singing ballad, not DJ thing. Dance Down the Road. Good Things, a ballad called Good Things. I actually wrote those and sung them. Yeah. But certain tune where everybody knew and grew up on over a lifetime, why should that go ignored? Somebody gonna clap it.
God, why not you, right?
Yeah. Nah. Get that off and then move on.
Definitely. I got a couple more for you before I get you off here. All right. You've had this career 40 plus years. Plus,
40.
What would you say has been the highest point of your career and then the lowest point of your career thus far?
The highest point was being in Japan in front of 50,000 people, and I got a purple afro wig on, purple curly afro wig on in front of about 50,000 people, and I got a red futabali and a green futabali and I'm ripping, and I'm ripping, and I'm ripping, and I'm ripping. Another memorable moments is Greek Theater, Los Angeles. Ripping, 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 full suit of green, looking like Geico. Another memorable moment is going to Australia. And these are all Sunsplash tours, mind you. Just Sunsplash tours.
All Sunsplash.
Yeah. Yeah, man, yeah, man.
Yeah.
Those are the memorable moments. Being in Toronto with that venue where the stage spins around slowly. Those are the greatest memories. Being in New York when Sunsplash come to New York at the pier, Manhattan. Yeah, that was fly. them memories
So-
there, you know?
Yeah. So when would you say has been the lowest point in your
The
career
low?
thus far?
Well, the low has been since, there's been a dive since April 97th. Tony Johnson died and Sunsplash disappeared, got sold. So there's been a perpetual dive. You know, some tours came in, but after that, there was definitely a silence. I can recount starting around the early 2000s. From the early 2000s till now, the phone rung a few times, but from early 2000s to this very instant in time, I've done 3 tours. One with Pikal King Jam and Anthony Gatlin, Japan, followed by Mighty Crown, taking us to Japan, followed by Yard Beat, taking us to Japan. Now, Gatlin and Pikal was around 2006-ish. Mighty Crown was 2017. And Yard Beat with Dissem was 2024. So you see the gaps in between these 3 tours, right?
Big gaps.
Right.
Yeah.
And between that time and this instant, maybe another one show for the year, like a Central Park. And that's it. There's a whole lot of keeping quiet, and I wouldn't call it starving. You just got to adjust yourself because it's a very hard time. We're aware it's what people would call a hard time. Just you're an artist and you're not on the road and you're not making more noise than you're actually making, and you should be making more noise than you're making. And this is the part where me have to turn to it mentally and don't go crazy. So barring those 3 Japanese tours at the beginning of the millennium, yeah, this is the low point.
Yeah. And you're still surviving, you're still kicking, you still have, as I said, you sound the exact same. When it comes to a show, you're a beast on a stage. So it's just a matter of, you know what? Hopefully somebody watching this or people watching this could help change the tide of what's happening in your career right now. Because your career, what you've put out, from being major labels to independent to being on sound system to having promises with Massive B to doing all of this good stuff, boss, the sky's the limit for a talent like yours.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Well, let me tell you earlier, like I have friends that say they grew up as little boys and know the promoters. And I tell them that's all good and fine, but do not put in a word on my behalf because them see me and know me a long time while you were away for like 20, 30 years. So that's very noble of you, but please don't chime in on my behalf because them see me a long time. If it wasn't going to happen already, it ain't going to happen again, and I'm good. I'm good with that.
Got you. No, got you 100%. Even this year, I know this is 25th anniversary of Praises, the last album you put out, and this came out through BP. And this had the monster song Promises. I think this might have been one of your last super hits that you had put out. Why have we had a body of work from Shinehead from basically 1999 until 2024? How come we haven't had a body?
Well, we did go try a little private life one night time from 2003 till about 2010. And then I left that alone and had to get myself together. And it felt very free and freeing not having to, all right, we got to do an album now. So that means deadlines. Some of us took an indefinite break and tried a few songs here and there, but I needed a break. I needed a break. And especially since April 97 after Tony Johnson died, you know, I just viewed things differently and became quieter and more cautious and tried to learn more and become more wiser, saner, stay sane and healthier. See, because those were the priorities over making money and famous and doing songs. I have to keep myself together because I was actually falling apart. So I put myself back together and I'm taking time to do stuff. But me just don't want to get up every day and sing a song for sing a song's sake. Just for notoriety's sake, just for money's sake. I don't do that. It's got to hit me. Whether I wrote it or whether I'm singing it over, it's got to hit me. It can't be a time constraint thing and it can't be a quota thing. It's got to be fun first. So when it hits me and it's fun, then I'll do it.
Got you. Okay, you don't create under strict timing. That's not how you create. It has to flow. It has to appear in your mind. That thing has to happen first.
Yeah, it does. It really does. It cannot be rushed. No. It shouldn't be quoted, and it should not be time constrained. So me need that break there.
Definitely.
Fall back and really see what's going on in the industry. I needed that quiet time so I can reemerge.
Yeah. All right. And I think from the sound of things, it sounds like that quiet time is quickly coming to an end right now.
Oh, yeah.
If I was to guess. If I was to take a guess.
Well, yeah, you would, I guess, right? Like me say, we stay ready for the call of duty. And you never know. You never know who you're going to meet. So, yeah, I stay ready for that call of duty until the day I die because this is the life I've chosen. So if the phone don't ring, I'm going to still stay on ready for the call of duty anyway because this is the life I've chosen.
I hear you. You've seen a lot of changes throughout the business time and time again. What's your true feelings on reggae and dancehall in 2024? When you look around the landscape and see what's going on, what's Shinehead's true feelings for somebody that's been there and done that on the highest levels possible?
Those making new reggae music don't get as much attention as the ones making the foolishness. See, the Kabakas, the Proteges, the Bugles, the Janines that make the conscious stuff, the Damians even. They don't get the attention for the sensible they don't get the attention that they're supposed to get with all this sensible conscious music. You know, it's the other bullshit that get more attention. That's a bother. You know, when you could jump off a rooftop and that's a hit. And all this daggering nonsense. Real. How you supposed to win a Grammy with that? How are other peoples of other races supposed to really respect us with that? For real? Like for real? For real? Ain't enough bass in it no more. It's not enough. It's no bass. It's all. It's light. Bass has a lot to do with DNA, and the reason why you listen to music is because in some way those waves are trying to recalibrate your DNA if it's out of line. So that's why one good thing about music, when it hits you, well, if you don't like it, it and your DNA ain't getting along. But it's there to recalibrate your whole DNA. That's just a theory of mine. See, which it kind of makes sense to me, and that led me to another wacky subject. Well, damn, if that's what it does, what musical note is the color yellow, the color red, the color black, the color green? Going in those dimensions now.
Yeah.
What color is C flat? What color is D sharp? That's what I gonna know. In the music industry today, like, most folks ain't got no substance, and it's back to grab and flee. And because you could sit on your toilet and make a record and make a beat, the novelty is lost where Rat and Roach can have studio now. And hence, with this mass access and freedom, the quality gone down.
No gatekeepers like one time, you know what I mean?
Eh?
No gatekeepers like one time.
Yeah, they had their pros and their cons, but foolishness never come out of them gate there. That's what I know.
You get
Most
it.
times it wasn't.
Last one I got for you before. Last one I got for you before we go. Right behind you, there's a picture.
Yeah.
At the very top of your record pile. All right?
Yeah.
It's Daddy URoy.
Yep.
What does somebody like Daddy URoy mean to Shinehead?
It means when I was in 3rd grade at St. Catherine Primary School, I had a little 6-inch speaker and I spray painted it gold. And that morning before we go to school, I heard a song on the radio in the morning. And because I had that little gold speaker, which was my first piece of bass, connected to a little transistor radio that we listened to cricket. And that has carried me to this day, because Daddy Roy himself was playing that morning, and it was playing with a Cornell Campbell I'm about to drop for you right now. Show you how deep it is. Because this is from 3rd grade. Right? 3rd grade. Watch that one now, muscle. Yeah, where are you? Ting called it Keep On Moving.
Yeah.
Right. Keep On Moving. This record right here.
Yeah.
Can you hear it?
Yeah, man. Turn it up a bit.
All right. You hear that?
Yeah, man.
Right. So I'm listening to that from 3rd grade. I'm 62 now, and I'm listening to that from 3rd grade.
Yeah.
And it's moving me right now, because I didn't know I was going to be no Shinehead. I just know I found something that soothed my soul. And that morning when I heard this joint, it was one of the things that pushed me in life. Some of the God church, the church, yeah. It's the preacher, yeah. It's the pastor, yeah. My church, this. Every record is a scripture. Have I answered the question?
100%.
All right.
And have you ever met Daddy Roy to actually tell him these stories before he passed on?
Say that again?
Have you ever met Daddy Roy before he passed on to actually tell him these stories?
I met him, but I didn't share that with him. I actually got to, MC on Sturgaff. That's for sure.
Wow.
Yeah. I met Daddy Roy. Did works with Daddy Roy. I even asked Daddy Roy to let me be the selector for Sturgaff. I was crazy like that.
Yeah.
Before I bust anywhere muscle in the 80s, the early 80s, when Bunny Wailer was going to Madison Square Garden, don't you know this crazy young boy called Jamaica and spoke to Bunny Wailer asking him to let me open the damn show? Yeah.
Yeah.
When Yellow Man came to Harlem World, and it was so hot in the summertime, and he only got on a gray 3-piece suit and a gray beaver to go with it, and fainted, and Mikey Jarrett and them had to take him to the dressing room. There was a kid in there in a tennis outfit with red Pumas and a red Popeye the Sailor hat. Hopped his ass up on that stage real quick and copped that opportunity. Yeah. Yeah. It was mad, son. I'm hungry. It was mad.
Bro.
It was mad, but it come from that keep on moving your door. St. Catherine primary
This was the one that put that thing in your soul, in your mind, in your heart, music.
Yeah. Did good in school, And I love the matures, good boy thing and all them something there. But the music me I deal with, I may not tell nobody. Me not tell nobody till me graduate from high school at Bronx. Me big now, so me can do what I want.
Big people thing. Listen, before I get you out of here, leave some contact info where they could check you out on social media. When they want to book you, book the song, see what Shinehead is going on. Leave some contact information before
we are at Kingston12hifi.com. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. What else, Butterfly? Kingston12hifi.com.
And it's Kingston12hi-fi at Facebook, X, and Instagram.
Kingston12hi-fi at Facebook, X, and Instagram. That's where we can be contacted.
Definitely. Anybody you want to big up? Anything you want to say before we go?
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing I'm going to always say. So, say, I'm not lie me I tell. Zine. It's not what you wear, it's how you wear it. Not where you live, it's how you live in it. Not what you say, is how you say it. And when you visualize, it'll materialize. Matter of fact, my boss has strive for the items. See if I can hit that note. You are, all right. How you mean, brothers and sisters, good day now. Entertainment television with muscle tonight. I got the Shinehead and Butter and Kingston 12. People, are you ready? Blow! Oh Lord! We come to entertainment TV rock steady. Blow! Oh Lord! Sometimes it's hard, but try and you'll make it. Leave you me. May I tell you, in order to achieve, go forth and take it and set yourself free. Now with obstacles in your way, you may fall before you rise. But when muscle and Shinehead start to talk, say it's no surprise. And as part of your plan, you feel have ambition, and the Almighty One as your ace. Chopper check. Blah. Yo! Down, Igor. Down!
Yeah, listen, you hear that voice, boss? That voice. And it just comes out of nowhere with no effort, boss. That voice.
Thank you.
Once in a lifetime.
Thank you so much, Dada.
Maximum respect. You know what I mean? And big up Flair again for connecting the dots and making this happen again. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
The first time we spoke,
we got a big up
went through
Flair
the
and
origin story.
Butterfly.
Yeah, man. Big up Flair. And Butterfly too. She did the technical stuff and made it happen. Big her up. And Flair connected the dots and made it happen again. So big up everybody, all players that made this happen, and Shinehead. I can't wait to see you on the big stages across Canada, across US, across Europe. Because listen, it's not a matter of when, it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. That's all, boss. That's all.
The great win,
You understand.
It feels good to
Wow,
be
this
alive,
conversation.
Muscle, and just good. Feels good to be alive and be living this, reasoning with people like you and so forth. Just life.
100%. Still doing what you like to do after all of these years, decade after decade after decade of doing what you love to do.
Yes, sir.
That's a blessing in itself.
Yes, sir. Give
You
time.
understand? So let me give you an outro and get you out of here. All right?
All right.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is Muscle, and this has been another Two Line Music Hut's Entertainment Report podcast, and we are out.
Respect.
This podcast is brought to you by www.twolinedmusichut.com.